There's a new contest on Underdog, $100,000 up top. And guess what? It will take you half the time to draft as a normal 18-round draft. On Underdog, we're going to tell you all about it today on Off and On the Clock. It's myself, it's John, while Nez is out there living the soft life. Let's do it. All right. I do realize I have the banner left up from last episode. A nice reminder, as always, evergreen suck at eggers, but back in the saddle. How are we doing today, John?
Doing well, man. Doing well. A nice little weekend there. Got some stress taken care of and relieved, and now I'm just happy to be back in the streets, battling it up. Love this contest, and so does the community, man. 33% already. Shout out to everybody who's been drafting because that's phenomenal.
Dude, that is insane on the fill rate for this. Like, wasn't the intention for it to be open for like the rest of the summer? Wasn't that the goal?
I mean, maybe not the entirety of the summer, but going to the 150 max structure was definitely intended to be open longer than a week. And I think the people are speaking with their dollars right now that they love this format.
And it's perfect, man. Like, we were doing best ball breakfast. The drafts can sometimes go really fast. I have Jacob on. And the chat's like, do a badge Bros Brawl. I'm like, it's perfect amount of time, 20 minutes, able to talk through some more players. And so, we don't always have 35, 40 minutes in our life, but we often have 15 to 20. So it's nice to have that option.
Yeah, no, definitely love that angle to it. Love the teams that you can create. Love the room dynamics of like, you can actually, set up some bully style builds at certain positions, kind of hashtag starve the room a little bit here and there. We could talk through if that's good or bad, but it just introduces a new wrinkle of fun right now. And especially at a time where it's like, it got a little stagnant for a bit there. And now we're starting to get some camp news and like that sort of stuff. But just kind of freshened up the player pool, even though the players are all still the same that we're drafting.
For sure. Yeah. And it definitely, even going down to those 6-person drafts, and then you start to feel Battle Royale season in the air as well, where that same thing, right? Like in Battle Royale, you can essentially build a super team every single draft that you do. You can get a top 6 quarterback, a top 6 tight end, but then the questions become, how do you actually differentiate yourself when you're trying to win first? Obviously the Badge Bros Brawl is different in that it still has the pod dynamics and versus a BR where you might be competing against 60,000 entries. It definitely, I think, changes it a bit, but it's still a really interesting conversation as far as, yes, you can build a super team, but as we titled this video, should you? That's kind of the debate we'll have here.
Yeah, another thing that like just playing into that BR style dynamic is like the final for this is half the size of BBM, but the player pool of it, like total entries drafted, is like a 10th, maybe a 12th of it. Like it's like 56,000 compared to 680K, but the final is still big. So that week 17, all that matters is a pretty strong feature, not a bug, to this contest.
For sure. Let's get, the housekeeping. We mentioned he's living the soft life. I've seen Instagram stories of him on a boat. I've seen TikTok videos of him touting Keenan Allen to the Chargers, to the Chiefs. He had that take on a boat, but do we know exactly where Nez is?
I think he's in off the coast of Maryland there. What's it? He's told me before what it's called, but there's like the beach area of Maryland.
Okay, it's not Myrtle Beach. That's the Carolinas. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will get to the bottom of that, I'm sure, by the end of this episode.
Well, the funny thing, Pete, is the guy said, "Hey, I'm gonna log off, man. I can't play pick'ems in Maryland. I'm gonna log off. I'm gonna put the phone away. Gonna do some big time family time. I'm not gonna be drafting." And then yesterday, right in the middle of the members only baseball show, he's in there ripping drafts. Like he was supposed to be logged off, and he's posting stories about, as you alluded to, with the Keenan Allen stuff, and he was drafting yesterday. So much for his goals of logging off.
Many such cases. Davis Maddock was, ostensibly gone for like 3 weeks, and yet I feel like the team still managed a way to get drafted. There's vacation, and then there's a vacation from drafting, and I think what we've learned is you never quit drafting.
This is true, but I don't know. Maybe our next masterclass is going to be in how to log off for the kids here. The new chapter in. I'll teach everyone how to log off for a little bit.
But first, buy the course, consume it online, and then log off because
and then log off. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I know people have been asking about it. Best Ball Breakfast and in other spots, we are going to work on some additional refresh content for the masterclass. As always, though, if you guys are getting ready for BR season, can't recommend it enough. Even if you purchase it now, anything we add to it, you'll have access to. So you don't have to worry about waiting and missing out. You can dive in if you haven't yet. We got all kinds of good reviews on that course last year, a ton of both new players who kind of took the course and got caught up to speed really quickly, and then some more intermediate players who it really took their game to the next level. So, I mean, what are we looking at here? I mean, I think that it was like 44 days until the start of the season and stuff. Like, BR season is going to be here before we know it.
Yeah, damn right. And excited for it, man. Excited for it indeed. Was going through some of my notes there yesterday of just trying to dig up and unearth some old, potential talking points and whatnot. And Newbie dropped the data for everybody. If you guys want to get a head start on some of that stuff, you can go find that on the Underdog Network. He dropped that like 3 or 4 days ago, something like that. So yeah, gonna have a lot of fun sifting through it all.
Awesome. Any other housekeeping stuff for you before we really dig into the Badge Bros Brawl? Anything else you've been drafting or thinking about with NFL news and training camp starting?
Couple things, not directly applicable to that. Mike Zakarian and I are going to do some double dribble stuff right after this at 2 p.m. there.
Oh, yeah.
So if the people are interested in the hoop stuff, and then very fun, exciting episode tomorrow. I haven't got it up there yet, but I was just going to put it up after our show today. Hayden's going to come on tomorrow. So nice. he's making the rounds, man. Mina Kimes, then the Badge Bros. Like it's all in the same spectrum right now. So he's going to talk through, some of the underdog stuff and what went down and where their path is going and that sort of thing. And then we're going to draft some teams now that we're allowed to share teams. So it's going to be fun.
Incredible. Yeah, it's been it's surreal to see them up on the Yahoo network. I saw they had the show with Matt Harmon the other day, but those guys didn't miss a beat, and excited to get Hayden back in the saddle. I think we're going to try to get him. We've been trying to get him on do ADP chasing, even our fantasy life show. So it's Hayden unleashed right now in the content streets. Man, as far as like drafting stuff, I did have a special moment. I had my first draft that wasn't either on stream or a slow draft over the weekend. It was Saturday night. Lauren fell asleep, and I was like, you know what? I'm still watching some TV now. Feels like a good time to do a fast puppy that was 99% full. I said, I got to put one more team in here at the buzzer. So that's how I know I have officially entered Best Ball Bro season.
Love it, man. I'm on the other end of the spectrum. Everything I've done has been fasts behind closed doors, and now I have to enter slow draft heaven because I was away last weekend for a stag. We're away this weekend as well, and I knew I wasn't going to have service last weekend, so I couldn't do I wouldn't have been able to pick at all kind of thing. So now I'm like, okay, now I can enter them knowing that I'm going to have service for the remaining of the summer here.
There you go. All right, let's talk Badge Bros Brawl. Obviously, we hit on it a little bit at the top, but definitely want to do a little bit of a primer here for people who are unfamiliar, because it's a completely different format than what you're used to if you've just done puppies, BBMs, traditional things. John, what would you say is kind of like the high level need to know stuff about this contest?
Need to know would be just how large the final is relative to getting there. So the path to getting there is quote unquote easier. The 1 out of 6, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 5 kind of set up there. But yeah, winning your initial pod is kind of like the onus is on that, in my opinion, just with like the 1 out of 6 dynamic. Like you really have to battle that initial pod in some fashion that the rest of your room is not. Like you have to have a clear edge set up in your room, and that edge changes from draft to draft, from room to room. And yeah, it's a very much like structural style contest where if the room zigs, you zag almost every time, and you stick it to them in some capacity. So I have a lot of teams that are 3-5-7-3s, which the S words currently love. The S words last year loved 2-4-10-2s. So those were some of the highest EV teams last year based on that player pool. But it's a lot to do with like what's going on in your room. If some guy starts pissing, you become the elite tight end, bro. If some guy, you know, starts jamming and fighting over the running backs, you become the piss boy, and then find, you know, paths with the handcuffy style guys. It's a very much choose your path, but it's choose your path based on your opponent's paths as well.
All right, you're talking S words. I mean, we were talking yesterday. I know the leg up guys haven't spun them up. What are these proprietary S words? Where are these? Yeah,
these are proprietary S words. Billy Jones was working on some. K-Bash was working on some. He worked on them last year as well. Proprietary S words behind closed doors that I have had a glimpse at to see. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's very much how you allot draft capital, that whether your team comes out looking good or not.
Right. Yeah. And so you mentioned that too, the 1 of 6 just getting out of there. In a way, it's kind of similar to the eliminator, right? Where it's like that first week is the toughest week. And then you're in these kind of highly variant head-to-head matchups the rest of the way out. 1 of 5, those aren't, you know, necessarily huge pods there. And it also is so small that like week 15 correlation, week 16 correlation, it's probably not going to factor in there. But then you get to the 375 person final, and everyone's going to have teams that project for a shit ton of points. And then you probably swing back in the other direction of, okay, like I want to be on the few offenses or the game that shoots out and really give myself a chance to separate from all of these other super teams.
Yeah, very much so. The one thing I would ask you about 15 and 16 there is the threshold, because you're only in 5-person pods opposed to like, you know, some of the contests that we have are 16 or 18-person pods in like in 16 in particular. So you really need to hit the nuts in 16 to then get to the final. But then you need that second or third quarterback or that second or third stack to then like diversify yourself from the field, because everybody needed Kyle Pitts to get through, or everybody needed insert X player, right? So this one, the mean scoring threshold for 1 out of 5 in 16 brings everything down a little bit, in my opinion. So you're also going to be naturally diversified getting to the finals, because there's not as much, there's not as much raw points required, not as many raw points required to get through. So it is a very interesting wrinkle on whether you want to be the 3 quarterback bro, or you think it's fine to just be a 1 or a 2 guy in this format.
Yeah, I mean, the way you talk that out, knowing how, because the player pool is smaller and because these pods are smaller, there's probably going to even be more concentration on the quote unquote league winners, you know, 1 through 14 in the week 15 pod. And then obviously whoever goes off in the week 15 pod. And so like just intuitively, that makes me think that I do want to have like 3 at the onesies, ideally, to give me that extra unique differentiator. Is that kind of how you're leaning?
That's how I've been leaning, but the S words disagreed with me last year, but it appears that they're coming around a little bit this year. So I've been very scroll happy with, instead of pounding the elite onesies, like don't get me wrong, when the room gives it to me at a price point that I deem relevant, I'll take it. But like I've been very 3s at the onesies here, and mostly quote unquote punt style builds where somebody doesn't punish you by taking a second tight end when they took an elite one, and I get one at a discount kind of deal.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, I guess that, you know, it's the similar thing with, I feel like a bunch of these contests, right? And what makes this so fun is there probably are a lot of ways to skin this cat and what your room is doing. Is this a contest where you would be even more mindful of combos, knowing that, you know, similar that happens in Battle Royale, right? Like when you remove 6 drafters, essentially, again, the combos, especially at the top, are going to become even more stronger, or not even stronger, but more frequented. And so that's something probably to be aware of even a little bit more than in regular best ball.
Yeah, for me in particular, I'd be less concerned about like the front end draft board combos of like, hey, like Amon-Ra doesn't fall and he's always paired with CD or always paired with CMC. I'm less worried about that combinatorial stuff, and I'm more worried about what I'm putting around my skinny stacks that I think could be the winners, because everyone kind of stays in their lane and they do like, okay, Burrow and Chase, you know, like over and over again, you're going to see some combination of James Cook, Dalton Kincaid, and Josh Allen, because there's less picks to lapse between your own pick. It's easier to just stay in your lane and stack your combos, and everybody does it. So for me, it's like if I isolate that, like AJ Brown and Drake May is like the stack that I want, and that's the stack I built out on this team, I'm more concerned what I'm doing around it opposed to having that stack, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out Mr. Pittsburgh in the chat. He says his team that won the Brawl in 24, wow, going back 2 years ago, was a 3-5-8-2 build. So there you go, a data point from the champ there. I feel like the other big conversation topic is, again, with half of the drafters is normal, with half of the players selected than normal, there is a new threshold for players that are going to be 100% drafted. Mm-hmm. And, when we look at the Badge Bros Brawl 6-mans here, you can scroll down and you see the ADP essentially hits a wall at 108, which is the equivalent of the 216 number in the traditional formats. And so now you start to have the conversation of how much can we scroll at the end, because you think about scrolling to, a pick at the end of the 18-round best ball format, and you're really starting to fly close to the sun with taking on a potential zero. I mean, these guys that are, the market's pretty good. The guys who are going undrafted are very unlikely to be relevant, but that's not the case in this contest. There are going to be guys who go regularly undrafted in here that are going to be extremely relevant, whether it's a rookie like Casey Concepcion or Omar Cooper, whether some of these tight ends who are going much later and not getting drafted, end up being, a league winning breakout. How are you thinking about the scroll down mechanics? Because I know that's your favorite thing to think about here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think it redefines the tiers as well. So when you hit the threshold to start scrolling, the tiers are like even more defined than, even in BBM, right? Where it's like, you can't tell yourself a story for like Jaden Reed versus, scroll all the way down Casey Concepcion, but you could tell yourself a story of that in the context of a roster where the quarterback is completely undrafted versus Love getting drafted almost every single time and blah, blah, blah. So you get into these dynamics. So the scrolls can start as early as like 85-ish. Like that would kind of be like my benchmark and whatever, but it's all relative to the position. My favorite scrolls thus far have actually been at the quarterback position and doing like, Malik Willis as like just a one-off that nobody's going to have, who has ceiling on his own, or doing Tyler Shuck because everybody's drafting all these Saints pieces at the top, but nobody's tacking on Shuck. I also like doing it obviously in the same dynamic as our 6 persons in the Battle Royale season with the tight ends, where it's like, you can just go ahead and be like, okay, I have my elite tight end, I have a mid-tier guy, and now I'm going to tack on Hunter Henry because, that's going to diversify my May stack. Or I'm going to tack on, Dallas Goedert because that's going to diversify my Hurts stuff when everybody else is doing it with backstack Lemon, or doing it with the front end of the board with Devonta Smith. So it's like, yeah, my favorites have kind of been at the onesies, and that's kind of what the BR data and some of the masterclass stuff has suggested is pretty good for a 1 week diversification formula.
Yeah, and just to put some like specific numbers to it. So let's just say, and I'm sure someone could look at some data of current drafts and get a more accurate number. But if I said that every drafter on average will have 2.5 quarterbacks, do you think that's a fair number? Between 2 and 3, 2.5?
I think it's probably going to skew a little bit higher and be like in the 2.8 range. Not a lot of people are doing 2 quarterback, which I thought would be more of the alpha and the meta. But it was the early drafts where I was seeing 2 quarterback, and now I'm not seeing it as much. I'm seeing people do 3 quarterbacks. So I'd probably put it at 2.7, 2.8, just ever so slightly higher.
Yeah. So even then, so let's say 2.8 times 6, that would be 16.8. So let's say between 16 to 17 quarterbacks getting drafted in the majority of these. You can go look, Brock Purdy's QB 13. You can go down. Jordan Love is QB 17. So let's start to say this Stafford, Jordan Love, Kyler Murray is where we get the bubble. And then to John's point, that's going to mean guys like Tyler Shuck, Malik Willis, Darnold, Dimes, Cam Ward, these guys are going to probably be sub 10%, something like
Yeah.
probably pretty drastic based on the drop off there, which starts to make them really intriguing, especially if you're compounding it with a stack, because now you're really taking advantage of a low owned quarterback and the variance of them going off in the pod.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I'd say Kyler's kind of like the line where like Kyler seems to go almost every time, and maybe that's just propped up by Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson just always being there, so people feel comfortable with the tack on. But like if you just compared like Kyler's ownership to like Malik Willis I mean, you're probably going to get a 40% discount right there. Sam Darnold never gets tacked on with the JSN stuff. Even, yeah, I mean, there's no other reason really to, but like he definitely doesn't get tacked on with, JSN plus Shaheed, for instance, or like Danny Dimes. I haven't seen go once other than I think Frog Clone took him yesterday in one of the drafts. But like outside of that, man, like these guys nobody takes them. And would it be the strangest thing in the world if, former 1-1 Cam Ward, who is now with, Carnell Tate, goes for 3 touchdowns, 1 on the ground and 2 to Tate in the final week here and is a big separator? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And I think, I guess let's do the same exercise for the tight ends. What would you say the average amount of tight ends selected is? I'm going to guess it's even a little higher than the quarterbacks. Or no, you think most people are 2 to 3?
I actually skew a little lower on the tight ends because people do a lot of 2 tight ends when they're the person who pulls up Bowers or pulls up McBride. Loveland is kind of like people do 2s, people do 3, but most of the Bowers teams are usually 2, and most of the McBride teams are usually 2. Yeah, so been noticing probably more 2 tight end teams than 2 quarterback teams.
Yeah, so 2.4 would be 14.4, 2.3, 13.8. Yeah, let's say like 13 to 14 range. So that puts you, Dallas Goedert is tight end 15. I mean, anecdotally for you, who's the last guy you see going, like Kincaid and Andrews?
Yeah, I think Kincaid would be the last guy I see consistently going. Likely gets propped up a little bit because of the Dart ADP. Ferg is like a hit or miss guy. Strange goes, primarily only stacked. And then everything else after that is very, very seldomly going.
And then like you look at this, and to me, it really firmly puts this sweet spot. Chig, you're getting him stacked up. You think about the way the pod dynamics could work, where it's like Jaden's crushing, Terry's crushing, and then you hop up in the pod for the Chig week tied to Jaden. Obviously, Gadsden, similar concept with Herbert, Henry with May, and then you get like a double dip, a Jawan Johnson with Shuck, and have both of those guys going undrafted. This seems like kind of the sweet spot here, Chig through Sadiq and Hawkinson probably.
Yeah, very much so. And it's kind of led me to a forced fade of a little bit of the middle tier there, where it's like I'm not really. I don't think I have a single Tyler Warren share through 25 drafts thus far, just because that area I'm either playing catch up at wide receiver because I pounded running back early, or I'm like going for a more balanced build and I prioritize the elite quarterbacks over him as being in that next elite tight end tier, and then I end up being like the 3 late with leverage guys.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, again, that's an old school battle royale dynamic too, where it's like, you're taking Bowers or McBride up top. You're trying to scroll to QB 7, 8, 9, and generally the QBs 3 through 6, who are drafted 100% of the time, that don't have the same ceiling as the 1 and 2 guys. Those end up being somewhat trap picks. It's not to say they can't get home, but just generally that's a good place to be underweight.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then when you start wrinkling in some of those like week 17 dynamics and stuff like that, like I like that New Orleans spot a lot. Like, like a potential Atlanta shootout, that this is a week 17 style contest. So it's like, I like the Rams versus Tampa, like that we could see a little pass funnel shootout. That makes me want to scroll to Ferg more than that pocket too. So once I tell myself these micro stories, it makes me hate the macro even more.
I mean, I know this isn't the other Ferg. Can we talk about how hilarious it is that Terrence Ferguson is going ahead of Barnard, Dulcich, Helm in this one. Just like the slappies are driving this one.
Damn right. Yeah, this is the perfect slap contest. So I mean, I'm not gonna say no to it. I've done it once or twice.
Have you noticed any other positional quirks? Like sometimes we get those across different ranking sets, Eliminator, where it's not only just positionally things are a little different, but it's like, well, for some reason, Igbuka goes much higher, in one format than the other. Have you noticed any of those in this?
Well, I was initially calling Malik Neighbors the most important man in the world in this contest because it's so much easier to mask his production.
Yeah.
So now he's continued to rise there. But I had a lot of teams where, Malik as your third wide receiver, but you've already got, 2 or 3 elite running backs. Like that was the most important man in the world to me, where it was like you can really mask the production and not the entirety of your roster hinges on him. And then you can do the cheap skinny stack of him and Dart, which was just like way cheaper relative to capital spent. So that's one. The other thing is like tiers have begun to define themselves and present themselves, but I don't know if they are right or not, but they have become very like mentally stark. So if you look through we could just use running back and wide receiver, but like Jefferson is like a huge line in the sand in every single room that you're in. Like the first 4 running backs and the first 6 wide receivers, like that is the tier. And then people within the clump of like Genty all the way through Henry and AJ Brown is like a new tier. And then for whatever reason, AJ Brown just seems to be like sticky as hell. But the other ones after AJ Brown all mix and match and fall and that sort of thing. But AJ Brown is like the super sticky tier there too. So it's just funny because we haven't defined it as such in BBM and we haven't defined it as such in other contests. But here it becomes like quite evident, like where, like how people feel about players and where they're falling.
For sure. Yeah. And that is so interesting to me because I do feel like Drake London should be the sticky point and that like AJ Brown's a little closer to Nico than vice versa. But yeah, it does speak to this tier of like, start it with Nico, start it with Rice, Pickens, whoever you want. But man, it is a long tier, like basically all the way down to like Devontae Adams. Like you can make cases there. So yeah, that's where then we get back to your thing too of like, mix up your combos here, especially in that third round or whatever it is, where people are going to get funneled to the same pairings over and over.
Yeah, exactly, man. And that's how I was seeing it too. So like the way in which I've been building, a lot of these 3-5-7-3s that I've been doing have been like, 3 running backs in my first 4 picks, and then one of the elite wide receivers, then neighbors, and then kind of like figure it out thereafter. Just because of what I've seen in the same vein as you is like, there's no reason for me to put like, there is a reason, but there's no reason for me to get over my skis on putting like JSN and Amon-Ra together every single time because I like the construction of the teams that have like Achan, Henry, and CMC plus like Nico and Igbuka and neighbors more than I like, hey, those 3 elite wide receivers and then doing like Scatabo, Tootin, and whatever that tier. So yeah, I've been pretty running back heavy to start.
I wanted to just look it out, after talking it through. Jacob and I just did like a very vibes based one yesterday on Best Ball Breakfast, which by the way, if you didn't watch Best Ball Breakfast yesterday, we got into some really wild builds. So check that out. But yeah, Jacob and I did one where we had Caleb, Dart, and Nix, and we stacked each of them up. We double stacked each of them. So we had with Dart, Neighbors, and Likely. With Caleb, we did both Burden and Rome. And then with Nix, we did Sutton and Waddle there. What are your thoughts on that kind of really heavily concentrated team level bet, really trying to play into the pod dynamics?
I'm a big fan of it. A lot of my teams look like this. I've been steering clear of double stacks at wide receiver just for like ceiling shot score stuff. But yeah, like for the entirety of the season, it makes the most amount of sense. But I've been trying to like I've been trying to do like a contrarian skinny stack. Like I would leave Burden off of this or something, and then pull in, insert other wide receiver in that tier, and then do the Rome one, because the Rome one will be less common than the Burden one in my bro science estimation. But
Right.
I love the Travis Hunter idea there, especially when you have like a Jags bet already. Not even if you don't have the quarterback, but like there's scroll pass catchers that are not that far off from their teammates, and their teammates go 100% of the time, and they go, south of 40. And Hunter's definitely one of those in that camp. So I like structurally speaking and like mindset, like I love this. Like this is basically what the majority of my teams have ended up looking like.
I mean, if we want to, before we start drafting, it would be fun to kind of maybe put together a little bit of a short list at the running back and wide receiver. Like, let's, ballpark it sub 20% drafted. Like, who are the guys we realistically think could crash this party, put up scores that are hitting your lineup in the playoffs, that aren't, these top 100 picks. We saw Hunter there. I think that's a pretty clear one. Keaton Mitchell is another one. If the whole Mike McDaniel thesis hits, the projection doesn't like it, but you can certainly see the upside. What other scrolls would you put in the mix here at running back or wide receiver?
Yeah, we were calling them better in brawls guys. Like just like the spike week guys that can be masked easier in this contest, but then have the potential to break a week. So Rashid Shaheed was one that we identified. I liked Rashid Shaheed. We were kind of staying away from like the guys that we deemed like quote unquote plotters, like a Chris Rodriguez in this format doesn't do as much, or Jordan Mason doesn't do as much for your lineup as like the ceiling shot guys like this, because your floor scoring to enter your lineup in theory is like just so much higher. So we were kind of going the banger bust handcuff guys at the back end. Like Corum could be that guy in a huge way. Like I love the idea of having like a decent bag of Corum in this one. Rico in the same vein, because Jalen Warren goes every single time and Rico goes, I don't know, 45% of the time, maybe a little bit higher, 55% of the time there. So that one was kind of fun. And then some of those free agents like Stephon Diggs and Deebo Samuel, like them being kind of buried. Yeah.
This is a good one. Well, I was asking you before, like, are there any positional swaps? I was like, where is Rico? I mean, this Rico gap to have, Brooks, Harvey, Corum, that's not the case in BBM. That feels like a weird penalty to be applying to him there. So that one is interesting to me. I think another one I'd toss in there too, a guy that I've been warming up to is like Bill as well, where the Commanders thesis hits. Like, could he even have just the Javonte Williams season where he just scores a shit ton of TDs on a really good offense? That one I think makes a lot of sense. And then I think you can, like, how much do you want to sacrifice? You probably don't want to do this multiple times, but can you toss in a Tank Bigsby here and there and just be like, in the scenarios where Barkley goes down and I find a really high upside handcuff and an offense that's going to score a ton of points?
Yeah. I mean, I've done a little bit less of that this year than last year, but I love it. I love it from like a theory standpoint. Like if you want to do like the Brian Robinson, the Tyler Algier, the Tank Bigsby, like, especially if you start with 3 running backs or you start with 4 running backs and you feel very like safe about like your quote unquote flex scoring, that then you take the pivot off of one of the guys that wasn't included in your roster. So if you don't have Henry in there, you take Justice Hill. I mean, maybe that's not as clean. If you don't have Barkley, you take Bigsby. If you don't have RJ Harvey or whatever, you take Jonah Coleman, like something like that, right?
Yeah, and I'll toss in another one. I searched for Emmanuel. I'm trying to see where exactly he is within this, but Omar Cooper, dude, he's way down here between Allen and Judy. You want to talk about a guy we could just be wrong about, that even if he gives you the Garrett Wilson light season, a first round pick who's like just a complete afterthought, that one looks pretty good to me there too.
Yeah, good shout. That's one I hadn't really given any thought to be honest. So yeah, I like that one.
But yeah, you're probably right. Bigsby, my guess is the Sims would absolutely hate a pick like that. Probably just too fancy, giving up too much. So I'm going to wind that one back. I was just letting the hands fly here in the veteran brawl guys. But yeah, I think, finding these wide receivers that do have, the talent profile that we're essentially just either scared in the case of Travis Hunter about his position. In the case of Concepcion and Cooper, it's the offensive environments there. So yeah, it is probably a relatively short list, but I do think it's fun to be concentrated and have it wouldn't be that hard to be overweight the field on this, cohort of guys.
Right. Yeah. 100%. It's another one I'd throw in the list there that, just the Jonathan Brooks, man, like just if you tack him on as your fifth running back, you could probably still have a cashing team, with him doing nothing this year and giving you the 30 fantasy points, but you could also have the league winner upside for free on the back end of rosters,
Yep. Yeah. And how many running backs are you saying? I'm curious, like where I'm going to try to do some math on him. Do you think most people are taking between 4 to 6 running backs?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. So I guess that puts you at, running back 30, which is exactly the line there. So Chuba is running back 30, Brooks is 31. So probably Brooks probably closer to like 50% drafted. And then you get to Harvey, Corum, Dowdle, and you're probably down sub 30, sub 20%.
Yep, for sure. I think there's probably a little bit of ownership priced in for the Corum and Monungai, just because like, even though their ADPs are lower, I think their ownership comes in higher tethered to certain builds, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like the Rams stacks lean into Corum, the whatever.
I think the last guy I would toss in, Aaron Jones to this a bit too, just where it's like, again, I keep using the Javonte Williams comp as well, where it's just like you can see things come together for him where he stays healthy. This offense takes a huge leap. He's catching some balls. He's getting some goal line, and he's just part of a really improved offense. So I could see some room for him at, 5% ownership or less.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 5%, would be generous. Yeah.
You want to draft some teams?
Oh, yeah.
Right,
these things are fun, man.
Badge Bros Brawl, only one more. These are going to snap fill quickly. As we mentioned at the top of the show, it's $10 entry. They're 6-person drafts, but still the 18 rounds. So essentially half the length of a normal draft. 56,250 entrants in this, but we are flying 33.8% filled. When did this drop, John?
Thursday afternoon.
Thursday afternoon. So we're looking at probably another week.
Yeah.
Before this fills. So yeah, by the time we do Off and On the Clock next week, and I believe we are booked to have Chad Maschke come on to do some weekly winter stuff, this might be full by showtime next week.
Yeah. Crazy to think. I mean, shout out to the team, man, running it back it was a big leap of faith. Like people loved it 2 years ago and it was like a rapid filling 50 entry contest, but big leap of faith to make it 500K last year, just trusting that the community was like, quote unquote, right. And then, running it back this year. Unbelievable.
All right. We got the 1-5 here. Have you noticed anything with, positional, where you're drafting from? Obviously with just 6 drafters, it does seem like maybe 6 is a little dicey because you kind of miss that top 5 tier. Would that be the one spot you don't love, or are you pretty open to everything?
Pretty open to everything, but I see very little deviation in the top 4. So this 5 is kind of like, are you going to be the CMC guy or are you going to be the JSN guy? Like that's the decision-making tier, but I fear very, very little deviation in the top 4.
Yep. So what do you do here, John? I'll let you drive this one. JSN, CMC, Amon-Ra.
I've been the CMC guy because like I'm comfortable with any of the other 3 wide receivers that come back on this side. There's also a chance that you get JSN back sometimes when this guy wants to, go with the double green button. But I find myself when I start at the 105 or the 104 that I have a lot of like 2 running back starts with like one of the elite wide receivers.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a good instinct too. And it's like almost everyone agrees that, I talked about it with Adam yesterday. Like if you knew 17 games for CMC, he'd be the 102, 103. So yeah, then do you grab one of these elite wide receivers, Lamb or Jefferson, just to make sure you have one?
Generally speaking, yeah, I like them more than Bowers, but I'm fine with Taylor too because like Taylor's a little bit of a mental tier break guy, but I'm good with either.
All right, let's. Yeah, I've been having a hard time parsing the Lamb and Jefferson. Let's do Taylor and see what comes back.
Sure. Also, like another little wrinkle from like people who are drafting this right now alongside this, like they're gonna do 200 drafts this summer, or they're gonna do some people are gonna do 1,500, right? And if you want to naturally diversify your exposures, like this is a great contest to do so because every other contest on the platform from a combo standpoint, even if it's like the Eliminator or something like that, it's basically the same overlapping ones. And if you wanted to just come in here and get hyper exploitative on like your guys because you're finally able to do it because the combos are available, I would suggest doing so because like over the course of an entire portfolio, it's going to like mitigate that variance for you.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Here we are back on the clock. Hampton, AJ Brown, Henry, McBride. How have you been playing the elite onesies? You grab a McBride here?
Some portion of the time I try and push it to the fourth. I try and take one more of these running backs here and preferably not Hampton.
Let's do Henry. I was actually just listening to JJ this morning. He was doing some early season schedule analysis, was kind of talking up the Ravens early season stuff. And we kind of talked about this contest too, of like just getting out of that pod, getting off to a fast start here. So let's, you want one of these teams that is going to project for a shit ton of points to start the season. That's what CMC, JT, and Henry are going to do. Exactly.
Right. Like this is just, and we're going to love the pocket of wide receiver that comes back to us. So it's like, if I can get 4 of these guys and then I still end up taking 5 to be fair. But it's usually just like that pure ceiling shot guy at the end.
I'd say McBride or London.
Yeah. So this is interesting. Your mind instantly went to the balancing notion. This is where I starve the room and I go, if you're going to give me 4 of these running backs, I just take them and I make you fight back. Yeah.
All right. There you go. Some warfare against your league mates here. Let me get the full board up so we can see this a little bit better. Also, one thing I was remembering as I saw the solver saying that it doesn't support this format yet. An announcement from those guys over there. They're going to mainly be focusing on their Firefox version as far as the auto updates. They will still be supported in Chrome. That's what I'm in right now. But going forward, any new updates, you will have to manually download the update and redo it. It's not insane. I used to do it for like Bricks, Draft Caddy, and stuff like that. But if you do want the seamless auto updates with all of the new features, they are encouraging everyone to head over to Firefox. So I actually just got that added earlier this morning. But something worth mentioning if you guys have been using the solver.
Yeah, and the new features are actually pretty cool because they're going to auto sync up your exposures. So yes, that's why. It's auto synced with the Best Ball Explorer tool.
And as I understand it from all the guys who've been working on tools like this, it's just the Mozilla sandbox is a lot easier to use. All right, should we go Loveland here? I think that seems nice.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, good with Loveland, and then the most important man in the world.
All right, let's do it. Yeah. Getting Loveland where, a lot of people, I asked Reeves yesterday, I asked Nez last week. There's a lot of people who are just taking Loveland over McBride straight up, not necessarily in a portfolio standpoint, but if they had one team. So to get a guy like that in this contest where you really are going to want a separation score at tight end to advance you through the pods, Loveland seems like a nice value here.
Yeah. Our guy's trying to starve the room on us with the 3 elite quarterbacks there. I take Neighbors here every time.
Neighbors over Devontae?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just knowing, hey, I can piece together, this quasi wide receiver 1 production, but if Neighbors is full go, he's the one guy that can challenge Jefferson, Lamb at the end of the season.
Yeah. He's a top 5 wide receiver, top 7 wide receiver who's available in the 6th round on a per game basis that I can mask to get there.
I would say with that logic too, I think you could make an argument that George Kittle is one of the most interesting men in the Badge Bros Brawl as well.
Very astute of you, Pete. Yeah, absolutely. The chat was all over that one the first day when we dropped it there. Like, because you could just, you're masking him with like not to besmirch the good name of like a Mike Gesicki or something like that, but instead of masking his production with a 3rd tight end of Mike Gesicki in the last round, where it's like, hey, maybe he gives us 4 fantasy points or maybe he scores a touchdown, you're masking his production with like a guy who has the same ceiling as him on a week-to-week basis in Dalton Kincaid or Kyle Pitts or whatever, you know? Yeah.
Yep. So we start CMC, Jonathan Taylor, Henry Hampton. I hope the room is feeling sufficiently starved. The drafter behind us is going with a 0 RB, 3 elite quarterback build. I'm going to guess that this isn't advised, but Allen, Jackson, May, all on one squad with no running backs. That's going to be tough to advance out of this pod.
Yeah, I think 2 is probably fine. Like if he wanted to do that zig when we zag. And this is why we can get away with taking the running backs like we do, because we still get T. Higgins and Ladd to come back here. Good with either. Ladd sets up the double stack, whatever you like.
I do like that. I mean, again, part of the thesis on the Chargers this year has just been that rising tide lifts all boats. I like the idea of like a Herbert, Hampton, Ladd, play it through the premium pieces and everybody crushes here.
Yeah, fully agree with you. But I will post to you after we make this next pick, like just the eyeball through the first 8 rounds or whatever, like how much stronger certain rosters look than other ones with certain positional allotment, right?
Right. We're back on the clock here. Yeah, Higgins, Wilson, Tedoroya, McLaurin, Waddle, all these guys fair game.
I mean, I think I like T in a tier of his own here, and then I do the other like 5 or 6, but that might just be my own inherent biases. But yeah.
Yeah, I think you can make the case for Waddle and McLaurin in there. I guess the question is how much are you thinking about unique combos with ADP fallers, right? Higgins at 36, pick 44, like in BBM, if he slid 8 spots, I don't think there's a single time I would not take him. Just knowing what that could mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, John, this is going to be bad. I'm going to have to run to my front door here.
Yeah, no worries.
Let's see if I'm going to let you talk real quick and hopefully I will be back in time to make these picks.
All right. Milk the clock a little bit there, gentlemen. If you happen to be in said draft, please milk the clock here. But what I was alluding to with like the structural build dynamics here is like, the team right beside us, I can't see who it is, but the 104 takes the double elite tight end there. And I think that's a great strategy. I think it's a totally viable strategy in this. I don't necessarily want to fill my flex with 2 elite tight ends, but those elite tight ends score at the rate in which, you know, some of these auxiliary wide receivers do already. So if you have those 2 running back spots locked up and then you just go ahead and drop in those elites, but when nobody else is taking tight ends and whatever, like, the diminishing returns is pretty significant. And this guy starves the room with 3 quarterbacks and we just zig and don't take quarterbacks and we're going to be totally fine, right? Like this is just going to be like a Herbert, Dart, and whomever team, right? Oh, it's going to be sweaty. I wonder who top of the queue is right now. I hope it's not like Caleb Williams. Although we have Loveland. We have Loveland. It's okay.
Oh,
let's see.
Did we
I'll take Waddle. That's perfect.
Yeah, I wanted Waddle anyways.
Yeah, Waddle's exactly who we'd want. This opens up the door for like a nice, 3 ceiling quarterback build where we can do, Bo Nix, we can do Dart, and we can do Herbert on one roster. And you might get a little bit of ownership leverage plus them all coupled together.
Yeah. So do you go Bird in here?
I wouldn't, to be honest. I wouldn't want it to be a Caleb. Yeah, I wouldn't want it to be a Caleb team. So, yeah, I'd probably take Devonta or I would take a second tight end.
Devonta here feels good. I like him just from one, we know he plays well on underdog. His scoring and how relevant he is in these contests, specifically in the pods, is probably going to be pretty binary, right? Just like it was last year. It's either he's scoring the 2 touchdowns or he isn't. If he's scoring the 2 touchdowns, it means the Puka team is probably toast. I think there's a lot of ways that he's a really helpful piece, specifically in the 3-week pods.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a little bit of a floor masking play for Neighbors early season vet, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good call. So we start 4 running backs, CMC, Taylor, Henry, Hampton. Then we go Loveland. And then we rip off 5 wide receivers here: Neighbors, McConkey, Higgins, Waddle, Adams. So we'll definitely be kind of late round onesies here for this, which we already talked about. Like if you are getting scrolly, doing it at the onesies makes the most sense.
This is my favorite type of build right now in this window. The earlier window, when the elite tight ends and the elite quarterbacks were a little bit cheaper, I kind of liked taking like an anchor elite one and then trying to push the envelope on 2s at the onesie positions. But now I'm very comfortable with, like, we've set ourselves up for this 3-5-7-3 with like a little bit of contrarian stacking. Every quarterback available other than Burrow, and some of those quarterbacks going to introduce a little bit of leverage to the roster.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just going to be hard to ever be boxed out at quarterback in this contest because you'll always be able to get a back stack here. Let's see. How do you want to do like a tight end here?
Yeah, I'm cool with Laporta. All the health stuff on Laporta and one of the highest scoring offenses. And if he's scoring, you know, Amon-Ra, Gibbs aren't scoring. So that bodes well for the entirety of the team in an isolated week.
The Lions, another one that JJ was highlighting with a super nice schedule to start this season there, that they could just be off to a fast start. JJ also had a crazy nugget. There's not a single game this year that the Vegas Lions have the lines projected for less than a 24-point team total. So
wow.
That is wild.
Wild.
All right. Do we get Herbert here? Do we do something else? What do you think?
Yeah, I would take quarterback here. We're going back to the side of the room where guys have 0 and 1s and whatever, and you don't want to run the risk that someone does the skinny with QJ or whatever.
Right. Man, that would be a sickness, doing the getting us with a QJ skinny there. But I
want to pick your brain 1 second here. So, like, you know, Chad's in the chat here saying this team's filthy, and like, yeah, it is. It's very roster baity filthy. It's beautiful. We've set up a plan. It's correlated, but it's also like the hand builder dynamic that you were talking to with Karain yesterday of like, this is how we kind of all structurally build now. And this is how we all, I wonder if the S words for this contest would tell us to jam naked Jalen Hurts there instead of stacking up Herbert. You know what I mean? Or if it would tell us to, you know, take Caleb with that Colston Loveland skinny stack and jam that. I don't know. Like, I'm very curious what the wrinkle, because all the pretty teams that you can create, someone in every lobby is trying to create pretty teams like this, right? So it's kind of like, what's the zig on the entirety of the contest, not the room dynamic of the contest.
Well, right. And then you get into some interesting thoughts with Hurts specifically, right? Where if it is a tush push week and you have the Devontae team and the Barkley team that are now bombing out because of the Hurts, like that's a pretty valuable leverage piece. That's how we play BR stuff too, right? Where it was like, if then, you know, we let's actually make this pick.
I think I'd actually take Bucky here. Like, I like the ceiling shot. He's got 3 tight ends beside us and 3 quarterbacks already. Like, I wanted to get like the contrarian, like quorum or whatever, but if you're going to give us Bucky at 77, like that doesn't come around very often. So let's just go with it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. What was I going to talk about? Oh yeah. But like literally in the masterclass, we talked about, you know, we were coming off of the pretty drastic splits with the tush push with Barkley. Are you good with Kittle here as our third?
Yeah, very much so. This is like the perfect build for Kittle. Like we have no weakness in our roster. We're going to backfill the quarterback position and be fine. Like, maybe I could have said it wasn't necessary to like force the dynamic on the room there that someone takes Dart away from us. And maybe it was more important that we got like Dart, but we can take Dart, Purdy, Goff, Bo Nix, they all stack for us.
Yeah.
Like it's, yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, just on I think we were talking about it with the Adams thing. I think the Hurts thing, where you are really thinking through those things of, because one of the spots that happens in the BR too, right? It'd be like, oh, the Eagles have this 27-point team total. And there would be basically these three scenarios that the scoring would play out. It would be either like Hurts has a solid game and one of the pass catchers goes nuke. Barkley has a nuke game and he's kind of the winner, or it's just a Hurts game and there's a ton of rushing and like nobody else gets there. And so building these teams where you're not actually leaning into too much correlation, but you're playing them. And again, it's unique to the personnel and how they score. But I do think the Eagles are a good one in that regard, where maybe stacking like that isn't the best thing, especially if everybody else is gravitating to it.
Right. Yeah. No, well articulated. Another little wrinkle to this isolated roster is the Niners stuff. Like that week 17 game, if that's the game that you need, CMC's got 2 on the ground. Kittle gets in the end zone there, and then it's 3 Jalen Hurts tush pushes on the other side.
So we have 4 more picks here. We know we're going to get at least 2 more quarterbacks. We do continue to see the quarterback queue get wiped out here. None of these running back, wide receivers, or tight ends look interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge proponent of the double stack Chargers stuff, so I would actually take Bo Nix here, but I'm happy with Jared Goff. And the reason I take Bo Nix is there's less options for other people to score points in your pod when Bo Nix is going nice than when Goff is going nice.
One other guy we haven't talked about, right, on the Konami code stuff, Malik Willis should probably be in the conversation too as a late one-off quarterback, just knowing he could put up 30 with an insane rushing game.
Yeah, he's been one of my favorite scrolls, and I take him naked or with HN. I'm totally fine taking him right here.
Yeah, what do you prefer, the Goff to Laporta stack or doing something else?
I think it's one and half the other, whatever that phrase is. You pick between the 2 quarterbacks.
All right, let's do Goff. I do think those scenarios where, again, I'm really just thinking about pot stuff a lot right now, and probably should be thinking a little bit more about regular season stuff. But again, to your point, the weeks where Gibbs and Amon-Ra aren't getting there, and Laporta has 2 touchdowns and wins us our pod, Goff is probably, poised for a pretty good score that week as well. And now I think it really does come down to how many uniqueness levers are you trying to pull. Obviously, Goff versus Willis, we're going to sacrifice, taking on a little bit more ownership, but now we can do some deeper scrolls for a couple of these wide receivers here.
Perfect. Yeah, I love this dynamic.
Yeah, so, I mean, we are, this is actually a good benchmark too here as far as the wide receivers still on the board as we get toward the end, just putting some of these guys like Spike Weeks guys, the Worthy, Pearsall, Addison, Golden. I mentioned the Casey Concepcion, the Hunter. You mentioned the Shaheed. Yep. I went as far as to want to include the Cooper. Is there anyone else you'd put in here?
Yeah, the other 2 that I keep messing with, or the 3 would be the free agents, like just the Keenan, Debo, and Diggs. And especially if this contest is going to turn into a short time box and we're not going to have landing spot for some of these guys, presumably, you could also get a big ownership lever on a good landing spot, but it is volatile.
All right, who's your favorite? I got the Q packed here.
I think it's going to be Golden.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah. The other one you could throw in here too is Downs, just with like what's going on with Alec Pierce and the pup and like that kind of crap. But I don't think it's necessary. Like he's not like that super fun spiky ceiling archetype.
All right, let's do a fun one here after 105. Let's do Concepcion, Hunter, Diggs, Shaheed, or Cooper.
Let me do week 17. Someone. Let's do Hunter.
All right. Were you doing a correlate? What were you trying to figure out a week 17 correlation there?
I was just looking at some matchups and then I misread the chart, and he's not playing the Chargers after all. That's
Commanders.
Chargers KC. It's Commanders there. Yeah.
But that's a good point of using that as a tiebreaker there at the end. And if you are trying to sort between these guys, because, you're this list, and obviously, Concepcion and those guys could have like true breakouts, but you're mostly spike week hunting there and just hoping that these explosive guys get loose. That is the whole thesis for a week 17 game. Speed it up for the other team there. So I like that, and would push me maybe away from like a guy like Diggs maybe, and give me the Shaheed, the Casey Concepcion, the guys who could really pop off there.
Yeah. Like it. I mean, this is a very, very strong team, but it was a very, GM style team. But then we took the two contrarian swings at the end. Like, you don't have to get too crazy with it to also build like intelligently contrarian teams. Sorry.
Yeah. I'll recap the team here in a sec. This is a good question from Groovy Greg, though. Which carries more value to you, the elite running backs or the elite wide receivers early in these drafts?
I mean, you can argue that there's fewer of the quote-unquote elite wide receivers, so the value of them separating is actually higher than like the running backs, whereas the running backs in a traditional best ball scoring format, where they're spread across just two rounds instead of being spread across like 5, and you wouldn't be able to put 4 of them on the team. You could say that the ceiling shot wide receivers are kind of like the elite tight ends, where it's like they truly are one of one. But in half PPR scoring, when we're trying to, chase, 3 big scores, 2 being in a slot and 1 being in a flex, I can't help but think the running backs will always stimulate better.
I know. And, my brain just keeps bouncing across different formats, traditional, eliminator, dailies and stuff. And it's hard to find a reason why in this format, you would make an additional adjustment for pushing up the elite wide receivers over the running backs. I do think, I think one thing that's kind of intriguing would be kind of the anchor wide receiver build, where you do get one of these 3, Chase, Puka, JSN, just knowing that those guys have, such an insane floor ceiling combo, and then maybe rip off a decent amount of running backs if you don't have the first or second pick. But obviously CMC completely viable. And yeah, I just think if the goal is really getting out of week 1 through 14, and we know that it's just a lot easier to project the volume for, in this contest, these round 3 and 4 running backs than it is the wide receivers. Because even think about it, right? From a projection standpoint, we pull up the ETR projections. It's week 1, and you're comparing Zay Flowers to Kyron or Breece Hall or Josh Jacobs or Travis Etienne. Like, the running backs are going to outproject that wide receiver every time. 100%.
Yeah. And they're also, generally speaking, matchup agnostic at this, point. Like, hey man, if they're playing, the Bucks front or the Rams front or, the Browns defensive front that we used to treat it like, last year kind of thing, you could tell yourself like, oh, I'm going to dock that running back, but I'm going to dock him like 1 point in ADP in our battle royales. Whereas like some of these wide receivers, it's like, oh, all of a sudden it's a outdoor game against a good pass defense, blah, blah, blah. Like all of a sudden you're docking them like 3 or 4 spots. And now the secondary pass catcher from somewhere else is vaulting into that tier, where like that doesn't really happen with the elite, like the truly elite running backs with the big volume.
Yep. And I think it's fun though to experiment, like build some. I think there's room. Like, do I think it's maybe optimal? No, but could I see a 0 RB team winning here, where you basically flip the build we just did? Like, let's look at the board. Say your Chase, your Lamb. Ideally, maybe you get I would like London in here, another one, and then you come back and you're getting a Breece Hall, you're getting a Jacobs, you're getting a Montgomery. I would take some big swings on this Henderson, Tootin price tier. Obviously, Bucky was a faller, and then come back to your onesies. Like, could that work? Absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to ask you, if we scroll back up there, if you could go back in time and take away the Hampton pick, knowing that we got a Bucky fall, or knowing that we could have had, the 1v1 of Hampton versus like Kyron, or Hampton versus ETN.
I liked London there too as
Yeah.
a wide receiver one, but no, I like it. Again, I guess the thing for me, it's just, I know in the traditional ones, when you get, again, kind of going back to the point I made before, like if Hampton falls 5 spots in BBM, I know I'm getting like a really unique combo. Like I'm pairing him. That means I'm probably getting him with like Chase or JSN or something, which is pretty sweet. Whereas I guess in this contest, it's just hard to know, like, because people are shuffling in the tiers as much, is the uniqueness element as pronounced as it would be in the standard?
Right. Yeah. And I don't have a good answer for you, because I don't think so would be like my stock answer, but I don't know what the tipping point is. Is it 10 spots? Is it 3 spots? Is it 20 spots? Right. So, yeah.
But at the very least, if you start to compound these, we take CMC, Taylor, Henry all at or around ADP, then you get the big Hampton fall. It becomes less and less likely that Hampton is paired with these other 3 guys here.
Exactly. This will be fun to run another here and just put ourselves in a potentially sticky situation, or if we roll a different draft spot, to see if we can pull something else off for the audience, because you really could do whatever you want, man. I've seen guys go double tight end to start, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I would like to try another extreme build here, whether that is like a 0 RB build, just to see how it works here.
As we fire this one up, Pete, can we address the elephant in the room? How did I age 37 years in the thumbnail today?
I think a combination of living hard and artificial intelligence.
Okay, I'll try and cut out the living hard if that's my future.
I would love to know what my guy. Well, it's funny because I had asked Sequence, Chris, who does my thumbnails. It was a few weeks back on ADP chasing. They did AARP chasing, and I said, like, put some old guys on the thumb, and he did like the face transition for like Aaron Rodgers and Kelsey, and had him have the beards and all that shit. And I wonder if he said, like, make you guys look like Russian boxers, or if he said just make John look like 15 years older. I don't know what the prompt was.
The guy's pretty ugly.
Okay, I do need to get the story. I referenced this on Twitter. I'm like going through your Instagram stories, and there's like you and 19 dudes on the golf course, and you're the only one with your shirt off. What happened there? Okay,
so what ended up happening was so the course that we were playing is like very picturesque. It's where Happy Gilmore was filmed. And on the 16th is like this par 3 like island green, and we were the first group up. And they let you play like a 5-hour round, and you just kind of hang around and whatever. And let's make these 2.
Do you want to have some fun? Do like a 0 RB, do like Amon Ra, and then do you prefer Lamb or Jefferson?
Let's do Lamb.
All right. Sorry, keep going now. We'll try a 0 RB build.
Yeah, so on this 16th hole, par 3, you can go for a swim in the ocean, right? So we stripped down and we set the tone, and we were waiting in the ocean when the next group rolls up. So then we're all swimming in the ocean, and then you get back out and you just play the rest of the round in bare feet and like wet shorts kind of thing. Yeah. And when we got back up, we were hovering around the 18th green, all waiting for everyone. It was pretty hot. It was like 30 degrees Celsius. So I was like, I'm just keeping my shirt off and drying it out. But I put all my stuff like in the cart that was like on the other side, and my buddy drove it away. And then when they came back for picture time, everybody put their shirts back on, but mine was in the cart elsewhere. So I'm the only jackass without a shirt on.
I'm like scanning. Where's John? Oh, there's the tarps off. That's John.
It's a very, very fun, very cool golf course. Very fun hole.
Sounds like it. If you're just tuning in right now, we are drafting Badge Bros Brawl contests, a relatively new contest on the site, although it is already 34% full. It's the same scoring settings, same roster settings. The only difference is there are 6 drafters instead of 12, which means 108 players are drafted instead of 216. Otherwise, it is as familiar as you would expect being in the underdog lobby. Yeah, you want to push this here. I definitely want London. Would you want to do McBride on a 0 RB team? Would you want to do an Allen on a 0 RB team?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's really push it then. Yeah, because the more balanced thing would be like, okay, they starved us. We take the 2 running backs here. But if we really want to push it, we do London and McBride.
Yeah, let's do it. I just want to see how it turns out if we think it's sacrificing too many points. And obviously there'll be rooms that like gift you even better 0 RB combos. Sure. And I do think doing it with one of, Chase, Puka, or JSN makes sense, but I don't know. I just want to kind of see how this shakes out.
Yeah, no, likewise. This is a tougher room, I think, because less mistakes will be made. Like you see, because we did what we did, that the other side of the room, acted appropriately, right? By, okay, well, we're just going to take all the green value now. So this is like a competitive room here. So it doesn't play as well sometimes on the surface once you see this dynamic emerging, but you can still do it. You can still pull it off.
Yep. And I do see Eggers is in the chat, and I don't have to update this banner. I can just get this. Eggers is in this draft, I should say. So there we go. Suck it, Eggers. Evergreen.
Let it
Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Drake London, Trey McBride here to start. Badge Bros Brawl, 100K up top. Is that how much it was up top last year?
Yeah, the last 2 years, this has been the structure. The first year it was, I want to say 50 up top, but it was pretty top heavy too.
And who was the champ last year?
Ooh, I have the thing here. I should know off the top of my head, but it was R Ritter 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I could pull that up for you and we could take a peek at it. We looked at it on one of the shows, but yeah.
All right, let's see here, John. We are about to pick. I think you mentioned the Lamb stuff. Like, if Pickens falls, do you avoid the double stack stuff? Try to play some more one-offs here with the wide receivers. We obviously could dip in here. Another fun stack. You could do like a Zay Lamar stack. Could be fun.
I would take Neighbors like 100% on this team.
Oh yeah, that's your guy.
Maybe I'm just Neighbors pilled, but like I don't want to give them the opportunity to find that like golden nugget of like who's that guy who fixes their rosters. Like I want to bleed them dry right now. And yeah, naked Lamar. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do Lamar again with this thought being like if we're gonna pull this off, let's make sure we have enough ceiling at the onesies.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this is a good version of like why you do the tight end on this roster first instead of doing the Allen pick on this roster is because we think we win more by doing this with McBride than having to do a 3 tight end build because Loveland never comes back to you.
Right. Yep. Yes, we got Lamar, we got Amon-Ra, Lamb, London, Neighbors, and McBride here. Also Lamar and kind of getting an elite quarterback makes sense a ton. When you have McBride, you're not going to be – Brissett's not in the conversation at this contest. Penix and Tua aren't in the conversation for this contest. It's nice to – when you don't have quite as many of those stacking outs to lean into a guy – who can rush, and maybe it puts a guy like Malik Willis, on the radar for this team a bit too.
Yeah, good shouts. Yeah, didn't even think about that relative to the partners that we had there.
Yeah. And thank you, Jake, clarifying when John said 30 degrees Celsius, he meant 86 Fahrenheit. Yeah. I just, I zoned out when he started talking about Celsius. I was like, that could be anything.
That's hot for me, man.
That's right. I will say like, the Hurts ADP, and I guess I feel this way in traditional too, but the Hurts ADP feels crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. That the Hurts one stands out to me. Most of the rushing quarterbacks aren't getting propped up to be treated like they're rushing quarterbacks like we would in the BRs. They're just getting treated like stacking entities. So when you do the punt quarterback builds, like the rushing guys fall, right? Because nobody wants to do them unstacked, which I think in a vacuum's wrong.
So some stuff I'd be looking at, Warren, Jaden Daniels with McLaurin could be fun. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do Terry and McDaniels.
That, I mean, we just know
Terry and McDaniels.
Terry and McDaniels.
McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels. Yeah.
That's a Jaden McDaniels hoops guy reference too.
For sure. And yeah, I mean, we know Jaden can get there on his own, but his mega spike weeks 2 years ago when both of those guys were healthy, they were so correlated together that I like that pairing there.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're pushing it, man. Is this the latest you think anyone has gone running back? No running back through 8 rounds in this?
It's the latest I've seen. Yes. Yeah. It's the latest I've attempted too, because normally I fall on one of those, middle guys there.
Yep. But I do think like if there was going to be a Bros Brawl running back dead zone, it would be like this Hall, Kyron, Javonte, Jacobs, ETN tier. And then we can just really basically we build out the room with these really high upside guys that are the Hendo, the Tootin, the Bucky, the Price, and then you pair them, John, with your vegetables, the Ramondre, Chuba, Rico's, that kind of stuff, to make sure you have enough early season production to keep this team alive, and then just hope you get a massive hit out of some of those really talented, year 1, year 2 guys.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's how I would approach it. The counter to the thought process would be you take kind of like a little bit of like flory oatmeal vegetables guys here, like like less ceiling shooter. You take like the Ramondre, you take the Pollard, you take that, and then you ceiling shoot on the handcuff guys. And you go, well, their team's dead because Kyron's dead. We have Corum. Their team's dead because Swift is dead. We have Manungai. I like that too as well.
Yep. Kyle likes the idea of a 7 running back landing here. I mean, I think that's probably where we're headed.
Yeah, no, I really like that. Like, I think if Warren comes to us here, we take it.
Yeah. I doubt he will with 2 teams behind us without tight end, but I mean, Scatabo, I mean, he's one of the riskier round 4 picks, but man, he can easily return round 2 value. So he would be a good one there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The question is just how, you could kind of go, you could probably split them here at these turns. You could do like Scatabo, Montgomery, Swift, Hendo, Judkins, Bucky, like all of those. There's like one volume guy, one higher swing.
One spike.
Yeah.
The other thing to do here is like, and this is what I mean about like the star of the room dynamic, like the shove it down their throat, is like less running backs are going to get drafted from this point forward because more people have more of them, right? So like taking a tight end and a quarterback here might do more for our roster, even though it feels wrong.
You want to do Hurts and just rip it in with these 3 rushing quarterbacks?
Yes, I do. I want to punish them for being like, we took all the running backs and you're going to let us have the quarterbacks back.
And then let's see, who would be that tight end for you?
Probably Laporta, but I could see Pitts as well. I'm fine with either.
Yeah, I just don't know if that's starving the room going down.
Okay, Pitts then let's go Scatabos then, because you painted a good case, and let's shut it down at 5 wide receivers. We got 1 more tight end or 2 more tight ends. I mean, maybe we could do. Yeah, I think 3-7-5-3 is that right? 3-7-5. Yeah.
Yeah, we're at a 3-1-5-1 right now.
Yeah, I'm in on this.
I did just update the ticker. Do you feel punished, Eggers? Because
he should.
Frog Claw, do you feel punished? Yeah, the Lamar Daniels Hurts thing. I mean, we were given I was ribbing the guy from the first draft here. I mean, he did it at a much more expensive price tag there, but it is fun there. If you can basically say, can I get, can I win an extra 3 to 4 points at the quarterback position every week.
Right.
That, I'm just giving myself that cushion.
It's also winning 3 extra points at the position, but it's also taking away the points at the position that could match scores with you. So like what we hope for is every single week our quarterback scores 26, 26, 26.5, and one of them has the 26.5 that we keep in our lineup, and the room is fighting over like, and maybe this isn't the right way to go about it with quarterback because like mean projection is so much higher than any other position, but I think it was the right like tripling down on our concept for this roster construction, because I think you play back into the hands of the room if you let Jalen Hurts go.
And good call too on the running backs. I mean, barely getting drafted. I mean, since we took Scatabo, Swift went, and then this guy came back and took Montgomery, but did not get punished there. I do feel like Hendo makes a ton of
Bucky
sense.
Would be fun.
Yeah, just like, and then we can, like I was saying before, we can get the Ramondres, the Chubas. Hendo goes. Let's definitely do Bucky. I'm fine with Laporta here if we want to try to compound the tight end advantage a bit.
Yes.
But what do you think about Laporta with Amon-Ra? Do you not like that as much?
Yeah, without Goff, yeah, you're probably right. Like the next one up is Pitts. Let's take Price.
What if we did Price?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say same thought as the Hendo bet.
Yeah, let's do that. Because that running back room, like if one of those 3 ended up as a top 10 scoring running back, nobody would bat an eye. It's like, oh yeah, Scatabo just did what he did last year, but had the role to himself. Bucky just found some touchdowns, and that offense still went burr. Price was exactly who they thought he was when they drafted him in the first round, and they're an 11-win team that, he has both the Sharps role and the Ken Walker role put together.
Yep. So here we go. Amon-Ra, Lamb, London, McBride, Neighbors. Then we come back with some bully quarterback. Jackson, Daniels, sneak in McLaurin there for the stack. Grab Hurts. Now 3 straight running backs. Scatabo, Irving, Price. 3-3-5-1 here with 6 more picks to go.
Awesome. Yeah, this will be a fun experiment. Like K-Bash in the chat saying, like, send me the board after because he wants to run the S words on it. I'm very curious what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I'm guessing it won't like it.
I don't know.
You're going to be sacrificing a lot of running back projection, and then it's like, are the wide receivers and the quarterback cushion, is it enough?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, doesn't it like
curious.
always, it comes down to like, can you get, we need like a round 2 hit out of Scatabo, Irving, or Price for sure to make that work.
Yeah, it's true. The rest of this, Pete, are we gonna triple down on fragility, or are we gonna triple down on the handcuff archetype style stuff?
I think a mix, right? Like if we have 6 more picks left. We've said probably 4 running backs, 2 tight ends. I would like to grab Kittle here as usual, and then we can probably do like a Goddard or Andrews stacked up with one of those quarterbacks as the third.
Yeah.
And then as far as running backs, I do like Ramondre a lot. We missed out on Hendo, Ramondre, Chuba, Brooks. We could do like Kittle, Ramondre here.
Yeah. Let's do Kittle, Ramondre. It's a little bit of a vegetable-y like Ramondre pick after we took the ceiling shots there, but the offense could be good and he could score 12 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we probably need it, right? Like again, like if a lot of these guys, like the Irving roll early, could take a second to get there. Obviously, Price. I mean, we are going to need some points to hang while teams that start with Jonathan Taylor, Barkley, Achane, and Love are who we're competing with.
Well, it's interesting here because I think if you're just trusting like the Sims or something here, they're going to tell us to take the guys that nobody else is going to take right now, which is the Pollard, the Warren, like that kind of thing. But is that that's a better projecting roster today, right? Like I won't deny that that's a better projecting roster today. Or is it better to keep chasing the ceiling and say, okay, Swift died. that kills, one roster spot on another team, we take Monangai. Kyron died, we kill another roster spot by taking Corum. Like, you know what I mean? Like, is the twofold bet of that worth more than just being like the mean projection of 200 fantasy points for the season from Pollard and Warren?
Yeah. No, I think I mean, again, the goal of this team is that you sneak it in to the playoffs and then just hammer people with your wide receiver scores that they're struggling to keep up with here. On the clock here, we wouldn't do both Chuba and Brooks. We'd probably choose our fighter. I do think Brooks and then one of the Warren Pollard makes sense.
Why don't we make the bet we were talking about earlier and go full contrarian and go Brooks and Rico?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, same thought.
Same bet, just lesser owned dude. Maybe someone takes Warren.
Yeah, the pushback would be like, and I guess I don't really think there's a huge difference between Rico and Pollard, but it's just like, is this roster already unique enough that you don't necessarily need to be like triple levering this team?
Right. Yeah.
But
the other one we could have done was
who?
Andrews for the skinny stack with Lamar.
Yeah. Yeah, we can put Andrews. I mean, Goddard fits that bill too. I also I wouldn't necessarily mind doing like a Chig, even I know the double stack, but when you're getting that last piece that's undrafted too, I'm a little bit more open to it, I think.
You could also do Bill.
Yeah, no, that's a good call as well. Yeah. Yeah, we do lose Andrews, but that's fine. I guess with the Rico, you say, yeah, I mean, he does from like a volume standpoint. It's like him, Pollard, and Chuba, and we already have Brooks. So then it's like him versus Pollard as far as like the best volume bets you're going to have still on the board.
Right.
We got the 3-6-5-2. We are doing a 0 RB experiment. Lamar, Jaden, and Hurts. Scatabo, Bucky, Price, Ramondre, Brooks, Rico, Amon-Ra, Lamb, London, Neighbors, McLaurin, McBride, Kittle.
It just speaks to, even in a sharp room, you can zag and still do it intelligently and give yourself a chance to win. Because is this as good a team as the team we just built in the last round? Or in the last draft? No, it's not probably, but do you see the thesis? Do you see the path? And will anybody else show up with this? No, right?
Eggers doesn't see the path. He said it's the softest room he's been in. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. 2 more picks here to land the plane. Let's see. Goddard, Bill, Chig, Pollard. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm fine with any combination of them.
I like Goddard, Bill.
Goddard, Bill. Let's do it.
Yeah, I do like the Bill and Jaden. Bill, Jaden, and McLaurin. That's like our Herbert, Hampton, Ladd. Then we get naked Lamar, and then we get Goddard with Hurts. And again, kind of playing that thing of trying to get the Hurts tush push weeks, get the Hurts to Goddard weeks, and then fade the Barkley and Devonta.
Yeah. That was a fun roster construction.
This is kind of like an evergreen conversation across multiple formats. Aaron says, I had a sick advance rate last year by just slamming running backs early, had 0 finals teams, which is kind of the age-old dilemma of the things you're trying to balance in these drafts.
Right, yeah. And it's why, when you were having the show yesterday with the sidekick, that those running backs, slamming them makes sense because it's going to lead to an advance rate, and then you hope the variance breaks the other way, right?
For sure. Let's see here. Let's recap this 0 RB team here that we just tried to pull off. We will get this board over to K-Bash for the S words. Lamar, Jaden, and Hurts at quarterback. did get to those 7 running backs: Scatabo, Irving, Price, Ramondre, Brooks, Rico, Bill. Then we did stick with those 5 wide receivers up top: Amon-Ra, Lamb, London, Neighbors, McLaurin. 3 tight ends: McBride, Kittle, Goddard. I guess one thing I would say is if we are, if Neighbors is really a true slow start, for 5 to 6 weeks, are you better off flipping one of these last 2 running backs to a wide receiver to kind of paper over him, so you aren't really just rocking 4 wide receivers for the start?
Yeah, it's a good shout, because maybe Neighbors was the wrong. I Snap was like, hey, Neighbors is the right archetype for this, but you can also argue that Neighbors is the complete and utter wrong archetype for this build, where it's like our roster spots require, maximum point scoring at the tight end position and the wide receiver position for the entirety of the season, because that's how we win, right?
Right. Yeah, that would be my only thought there, is like, you don't want to lose the advantage there of that. And maybe it's, because even with Kittle, right, we have McBride and Goddard. We're going to be able to buy a little time there. I mean, looking at the board, because it's not that I don't like the Neighbors pick. It's just, the wide receivers available here. Yeah, like, do you take a Metcalf type, a Downs type, and just saying, hey, let me make sure that I can get Neighbors to when it counts?
It would definitely feel safer, for sure. But we kind of threw all the safety out the window with the start that we had and just said we're right when we're right, and just kept doubling down.
Right. We're right when we're right.
We're right when we're right.
Ain't that the truth? All right, K-Bash, I'm going to find you in Discord and send this to you, and then you can give us an update later in the Discord.
That'd be cool to see.
Yeah, I am really curious how, like, compared to, maybe I'll send him both of our boards and see if he can compare the 2 there. Yeah,
that'd be awesome. Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, let people know, John, what are you running after this, you said?
Yeah, I'm going to do hoops with Mike Zakarian. We'll talk about the LeBron landing spot. We'll bullshit about some Summer League stuff. We did one show together since Summer League on his channel, but we just kind of did a draft and didn't really chat much. So we'll chat a bit more here, have some fun clicking on basketball players' names. And I don't know, maybe I can coerce him. He is the FIFA runner-up. Maybe I can coerce him into an EPL draft as well. Who knows? I don't know if he knows footy like that, but we'll see.
I know. I mean, I think he, he's given all the praise to his quant, JBB, on that.
JB Slop.
That's right. JBB inundated us with those betting threads for the entire World Cup, but the real friends made along the way was just Zakarian's Pup Cup teams.
Damn right. Yeah.
Who won? Who ended up winning it? Who was
Chris
the user?
Did. Chris wins
Chris,
everything.
yeah.
Chris is the best.
Yeah. Yes. Evergreen there.
Yeah. Okay. Can we indulge just for one last segment of the show? Can we indulge Eggers for like 2 seconds that he thinks his team's like amazing?
I'd prefer not to, but sure.
Suck it, Eggers.
Let's see. All right. What are we looking at here? Eggers squad. Oh, let me just go back to the team view. All right, Eggers, Burrow, Dart, Nix. You just got absolutely QB mogged by us. Good luck. Taylor, Barkley, Achane, Jeremiah Love, Javonte. 2 running backs on 2 of the worst teams in football. 2 of the other running backs who are just completely dependent on touchdowns for getting there. And Javonte, who's going to turn to absolute dust this year. Chase and Higgins, classic premium double stack. I'm sure that'll work out for you when they're negatively correlated. Jalen Waddle, oh, congrats. You watch every fucking fantasy football podcast on the earth. Devontae Adams, Nez said he's turning to dust this year. Good luck with that. DK Metcalf, shout out Nez. Cortland Sutton, oh yeah, let's just do more premium double stacks with all of these guys in a contest where you need to only beat 5 other people and have to hit the goddamn nuts. And Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft together too. Oh, you couldn't find room for Jordan Love on this team? Do you know who would find room for Jordan Love as a QB4 on this team? Tony Squares. In fact, he did it in his solo stream there. Sam Laporta, Kyle Pitts. That would be a great tight end room if this was 2.5 years ago. Well done, Eggers. Is that what you wanted, Eggers?
We'll see you next week, guys.
Peace.